Hey everybody, Andy Joels here from VideoCreditScore.com, back to talk about apartment evictions and whether or not these hit your credit score and your credit report. Now the reality is most apartment renting experiences do not hit your credit line part of your credit report. Now that doesn't mean they won't be in the report altogether, because if you remember, there's a public records section in your credit report, and it's possible for you to have a judgment against you, and then it could actually show up in the public records piece, but it's not going to hit the credit part of your file. So let's go through kind of one by one. When you're applying for an apartment, does this impact your credit score? Well, it does impact your credit in that your credit's going to be checked when you apply for an apartment. In most cases, your credit score is going to be found out when you apply for an apartment. Now, as to the question is whether or not this is an inquiry against your file, in most cases it's not going to be an inquiry against your file or a hard inquiry. So just the fact that you're applying for an apartment is not going to ding your score. What about rental payments? Rental payments, very rarely do these show up in your credit file. It's just something that apartment complexes and apartment management companies have not been that diligent about working with the credit bureaus to report this type of information, and therefore it's not making its way into the credit file, so you don't really need to worry about that. So what about late fees and being late on rent? Same thing. Those aren't likely to get reported into your credit file. So let's talk about collections and evictions. Well, these aren't going to make it into the credit file, in that there's no line item that says, okay, you had an eviction in your credit file, but it can make it into the public records section. And again, if it's in the public records section, it's not going to ding your score per se. It's just going to be something that's going to show up in the report. So I do want to give you the caveat. Now, just because apartment evictions and apartment type behavior doesn't impact your credit score in many cases, doesn't mean that it's not going to get checked or seen. You should know that when apartment management companies pull your credit file, they're actually in many cases using a complete service which will not only check your credit score, but also reach through your credit report. It includes a background check, so they are going to look at your public record information, and they're also going to contact your previous landlords that you put down on the application and try to get a good, clean reference from you. So just because it doesn't show up in your credit report doesn't mean it's not going to ding you. It still could come back to you because of these complete services that these folks are using. And if you want to learn more about this and other topics, you know where to come, VideoCreditScore.com. Remember to use your credit wisely. Follow me on Twitter and friend me up on Facebook. See you soon. Remember, everyone's situation is different. Be sure to contact a financial advisor or a credit counseling professional before making important financial decisions. This video broadcast is for educational purposes and not a substitute for receiving personalized professional advice.